Just like DACs, amps, headphones, and DAPs, IEMs get plenty of hype. One big-name reviewer starts the snowball rolling, and soon you have a full-blown avalanche of uncontrollable excitement every single time a new product comes out. Someone should do a supercut of all the times that's happened. Anyway, it's the 7Hz Timeless. This product has received a lot of praise among IEM fans. Some claim it is as good as or better than expensive options like the audeze iSign. The Timeless costs $220. A few months ago, AliExpress themselves reached out to me and asked if I wanted to review a product from their website. They gave me a budget of $200 and told me I could select any item on AliExpress. Obviously, since $200 is not enough to cover the costs of DACs, amps, and many headphones these days, I opted for the 7Hz Timeless. The folks at AliExpress were generous and covered the full cost of the Timeless, even though I obviously blew the budget. You know about AliExpress, don't you? If you need a hard-to-find product, it's likely somewhere on AliExpress. Just a few weeks ago, I was looking for a balanced 4.4mm switch box. AliExpress had one and no one else did. So, for obscure stuff that's mingled with the popular, AliExpress is massive storefront for your electronic needs and wants. If you choose to buy the Timeless, please consider using the AliExpress link below. AliExpress has a discount code for my channel. Use that if you decide to buy the Timeless. Alright, is the Timeless the hype-worthy product we've been led to believe, or just another IEM lost in the never-ending cascade of IEMs? I have never heard of 7Hz before. This is a new company to me. These guys say that the Timeless uses 14.2mm planar drivers. They claim that the Timeless produces, quote, excellent dynamics with great clarity throughout a wide frequency range. 7Hz has an interesting cutaway graphic showing the internals of the Timeless. If this photo is accurate, then it explains the round design. The company says that the Timeless will produce natural, loose, and balanced sound to ensure transparent sound quality. 7Hz claims that the cable uses, quote, single crystal copper and single crystal copper silver plating, which then provides, quote, a warm sound with durable hearing. There's not much that describes the performance and sound signature of the Timeless. 7Hz makes vague statements about clarity and balanced sound, but we will need to put this to the test. 7Hz says that the Timeless has a CNC machined aluminum shell. I'm glad they said this because I was under the impression it was plastic. In fact, I was certain it was plastic because the IEM feels very light. The Timeless has a circular shape. Reviewing the cutaway diagram that 7Hz provides, you can understand why this shape needed to be. That's the simplest solution to the planar diaphragm in this IEM. On the flip side, the Timeless is a fairly larger IEM. It will stand out among all your other options. Luckily, 7Hz kept the overall design as minimalist as possible. The shell has no sharp edges and a fairly conventional nozzle assembly. The Timeless is impeccably packaged. It comes with a hard aluminum case. It seems overkill by a long mile, but it's a welcome nonetheless. This is the sturdiest, most robust, most industrial strength IEM case I have ever seen, and it has plenty of room for the Timeless. This IEM comes with a wide selection of ear tips of various colors and shapes. You get 3 sets of foam, 3 sets of oval-shaped silicone, and 3 sets of cone-shaped silicone ear tips. That's 9 pairs of different ear tips, so finding the right fit should be pretty easy. The Timeless comes with a MMCX cable. You can select the termination when you buy the product. This cable is, frankly, luxurious. It's got a color scheme that matches the aluminum box and the IEMs. It is sturdy, transmits little microphonics, and is rather supple. Finally, 7Hz threw in a spare set of ear tip filters. These might be useful if you need to change the Timeless's mesh screen. As for comfort, I found the Timeless surprisingly easy to wear. I never struggled to keep the IEMs in my ears. The Timeless does jut out and does not sit flush, but that did not cause discomfort. I can easily wear this IEM for about 3 hours before needing a break. Overall, the Timeless has durable construction. It's big and odd looking, but at least there's an explanation for that. The Timeless is fairly comfortable, and this IEM comes with some of the best accessories I have yet seen. If you recall, I recently reviewed the $700 Death on Ray Tender, and that product had bottom barrel accessories. The Timeless includes accessories that Death on Ray should have placed in the box with their high-priced product. To test the Timeless, I used it with various devices. This includes my RME 80i2 DAC, Low2 PAW S1, EcoZerta ITM03, and the Low2 PAW 6000. I used the stock accessories, except when I listened using sources with only 3.5mm connections. I listened to my test playlist on Amazon Music HD and Qobuz. The Timeless is easy to drive. While you can plug this directly into your mobile device if it still has an audio jack, I think you'll get the best experience with a modest amplifier. Like all planar drivers I've used, the Timeless needs some extra power. Dongle DACs like the ITM03 should be plenty. I experimented with the various ear tips provided in the box. They do affect the presentation in one way or another. Some add a bit more mid-bass emphasis, some have a slight reduction in sibilance. 7Hz does not say much about the bass response. My tests indicate that the Timeless has a sub-bass roll-off. In Mountains by Hans Zimmer, there's a rumble from the beginning. This is supposed to slowly rise into a crescendo. The Timeless did present the rumbling effect, but it was fast and had less reverberation than the neutral Moondrop Quarks. Separation of sub-bass from mid-bass was apparent. When the crescendo hit, the organ stood apart from the other instruments. There was audible separation among the group sets. The rolling thunder effect was present but underemphasized. It was, for example, louder on the Quarks. In Conquer by Overwork, there's a rolling marble sound at the beginning. This is supposed to pan from right to left to center. The Timeless clearly rendered this detail. There are multiple drums in this track, and the Timeless recreated all of them. Each drum strike was fast and had minimal melding with each subsequent strike. Drum impact was almost as hard as on the Quarks, but I think the Quarks had slightly greater impact. I listened to several hip-hop songs including Pure Water, New Patek, Reel It In, and Uproar. On each occasion, the Timeless underemphasized the sub-bass. Subwoofer effects sounded distant, as if the subwoofer was at the other end of a large room. The drums were louder. The vocals were easily 1 to 2 steps ahead of the instruments. I listened to my Sicario playlist. I used these songs to determine if there is any audible bass distortion. Traversing from low to high volume, the Timeless never audibly distorted. Overall, the Timeless has a sub-bass roll-off. Sub-bass is not fully presented. Transients is as fast on this IEM as on any other planar driver I've heard. The Timeless does appear to have neutral mid-bass rendition. 7Hz does not say what the mids should sound like. My test suggests that the Timeless has slightly forward mids. In Orla Gartland's song Why Am I Like This, there's natural vocal grain and sibilance mixed in. The Timeless seemed to render the vocal grain in a neutral fashion, similar to what I heard on the Quarks. However, the sibilance was slightly elevated on the Timeless. Orla's voice was easily 1 step ahead of the instruments. The bass and drums had marginal melding among their notes. In Want You Back by Haim, the Timeless again marginally emphasized sibilance in the primary female artist's voice. It was a slight deviation from the neutral rendition on the Quarks. At 8 seconds into the track, the singer says the word "we" and drags it out, making it sound gravelly. The Timeless did present this detail. There are 2 backup vocalists, 1 in either channel. The Timeless clearly rendered their separate voices. When the instruments played at maximum, these voices remained separate and distinct, but I had to concentrate to hear those differences. The drums, piano, guitar, and bass had minimal melding among their notes. No particular instrument overpowered any other. The vocals were generally 1 to 2 steps ahead of the instruments. In Superposition by Young the Giant, the Timeless clearly rendered the ukulele, drums, and bass. The bass seemed a little distant. The primary male vocalist stood 2 steps ahead of the instruments. His sibilance was not emphasized and sounded similar to what I heard on the Quarks. There's a backup vocalist in this track, and his voice is layered beneath the primaries. Most IEMs and headphones cannot reveal this detail. The Timeless could not either. Between 1 minute and 10 and 1 minute and 20 seconds, there are sharp intakes of breaths. The Timeless did present this detail. Overall, the Timeless appears to have slightly forward mids. It is not too far from neutral, in my opinion. Female artists get a slight emphasis in sibilance, while male artists don't appear to. There's above average clarity in the mids region. 7Hz doesn't explain how the treble should sound on the Timeless. My tests indicate that this IEM has fairly neutral treble. In Scherzo for X-Wings, the Timeless clearly rendered the brass and horns. These instruments remained separate and distinct. Their higher-pitched notes seemed to present about as much energy as on the Quarks. The nasally signatures of the brass was perfectly clear. There was good separation among the various group sets. The timpani was audible, but a little recessed, less obvious than on the Quarks. The Timeless renders width and depth, but no verticality. In other words, I could hear instruments further out into the wings and placed deeper into the well, but no sounds came from above or below. In Flight from the City, the Timeless made the piano sound like it was about 8 feet away. The bassy notes were underemphasized and had quick transients. I could easily hear the pops and sizzles and electric buzzing effects. The cello was clearly separate from the piano, and its notes melded only marginally with that of the piano's. I could hear the creaking of wood on the pianist's bench and the shifting of the cello's weight. In Take 5 by the Dave Brubeck Quartet, the Timeless rendered the piano in the right, drums in the left, saxophone center, and a bass a few steps behind. All instruments seemed separate from each other. The saxophone appeared clear, and its higher-pitched notes were similar in energy to what I heard on the Quarks. The cymbals are struck at different positions, which should result in different tonalities. The Timeless rendered that without difficulty. The cymbals are generally as loud as the saxophone throughout this song. Overall, the Timeless appears to have close to neutral treble rendition. There's above-average clarity and separation in this region. Nothing sounds harsh or piercing, even at high volumes. 7 Hz doesn't make grand statements such as, "The Timeless will reveal all the details." We have come to see that detail and clarity are not aspects reserved for expensive products. To the contrary, some really cheap stuff presents the greatest amount of detail. The Timeless seem to produce details without difficulty. Twangs of guitar strings, multiple vocalists, sharp intakes of breaths, pops and sizzles, electric buzzing, creaking of wood, shifting of a cello, gravelly natures of voices, all of these details were patently obvious on the Timeless. This IEM can even produce some subtle details, but I don't think it's analytical in detail retrieval. I have a quantitative test for detail retrieval. I use Kazuki's song New Light, which has layers of details. This includes the sound of wind, rustling of grass, children playing, synth, piano, and footsteps. I count the number of footsteps I can hear in the first 60 seconds. The Heidi's MS2 presents 8 to 9 footsteps. The Tin Hi-Fi T2 and T2 Evo present 7 to 8 footsteps. The Moondrop Aria presents 7 footsteps. The T2 Plus, Blonde BL05, and the The Audio Legacy 2 present 6 to 7. The Moondrop Starfield presents 6. The Moondrop Quarks, Blonde BL03, and the Triple Wind Melee each present 5 to 6 footsteps. The Timeless rendered 8 footsteps. For my detail resolution scale, I use the Moondrop Aria and Starfield as the average performers. Any IEM that provides more or less footsteps is judged accordingly. Thus, on my scale, the BL03 would be considered below average and the T2 would be above average. Using this standard, it seems clear to me that the Timeless is above average in detail retrieval. Remember, changing ear tips might present more or less. The Timeless has a reasonably wide soundstage, though nothing expansive. I have yet to hear an IEM that reproduces the soundstage of the Hi-Fi Man Sundara or Avantone Planar, and I would be floored if I heard anything close to the HD800S. Ear tips and insertion depth will affect soundstage for IEMs. The original recording methodology and the ear tip shape and design will also have a meaningful impact. Having experienced the Timeless for several weeks, I think it has above average soundstage. It has some depth and width, but no verticality. It has clarity, which then allows for easier object placement. Just as with the detail resolution test, I also have a scale for soundstage. For me, this involves, yet again, using the Moondrop Aria and Starfield as the average performers. Anything that has greater or lesser soundstage is judged accordingly. The Tin Hi-Fi T2 and the Heidi's MS2 have above average soundstage. The Blonde BL03 and the 05S are average at best and perhaps slightly below average in soundstage based upon proper pitch. The Starfield, Aria, and Quarks are average. I would place the Timeless in the same category as the T2, with perhaps the T2 being slightly wider. Remember, changing ear tips will affect this experience depending on which ear tips you use. 7 Hz gives us a vague, unhelpful description of the sound signature for this IEM. That's unfortunately par for the course for the vast majority of audio companies. But 7 Hz did give us a hint. They say that the Timeless is balanced and that it should be warm sounding. The Timeless has a sub-bass roll-off. This is similar to every planar driver I've heard, whether in an IEM or headphones. It's just their thing. And, like other planars, the Timeless has fast bass transients. Mid-bass is closer to neutral. There's good separation between sub-bass and mid-bass. The mids are slightly forward. Vocals are marginally sibilant, but if you use one of the supplied alternative ear tips, that might reduce your sibilance experience. Vocals are usually 1 to 2 steps ahead of instruments. There's above-average clarity in the mids region. The treble seems to be close to neutral. The Timeless never presented a harsh or piercing treble instrument, even at high volumes. The Timeless has above-average detail and soundstage. In my experience, the Timeless does present a balanced sound signature. It is not analytical, even though it has the type of soundstage and detail replicated on the Tin T2. It is not bassy, as it has fairly neutral mid-bass response, but a sub-bass roll-off. I would not say that the IEM is warm sounding. In my view, a warm sounding headphone or IEM has elevated bass bleed into the mids, a slight recession in the mid-range, and no better than average clarity and soundstage. It is, in other words, an intimate presentation. Things sound closer to the ears. That simply was not what I heard on the Timeless. Can somebody else have a different opinion with a different definition of warm sounding? Sure, but it's just not mine. Ultimately, we are given an IEM with a sound signature that seems, for the most part, inoffensive. Those who hate treble and sibilance probably would not be upset with the performance. Those who like a bit of bass emphasis might find the Timeless somewhat lacking, but could adjust a few decibels in EQ. And those who like clear vocals will probably find the Timeless an enjoyable listen. You really won't know until you try them yourselves, but I never got the impression that there is anything sonically wrong or distorted about the Timeless. It's vital that we conduct A/B tests with gear. That's the only way to know how good the new stuff actually is. Here, we will compare the Timeless against the Campfire Audio I/O and Andromeda and the Tin Hi-Fi P1. I used a replacement cable for the Timeless so that I could use my 3.5mm switch box. Otherwise, all the comparisons were done with the stock accessories and the same accessories I had been using with the Timeless in order to find out its sound signature. I used the RME 80i2 DAC and the Lotu PAW S1. I listened to my test playlist on Amazon Music HD and Qobuz. The I/O has less sub-bass emphasis than the Timeless. Sub-bass is noticeably greater on the Timeless. Mid-bass is marginally greater on the I/O. Separation of sub-bass from mid-bass is more obvious on the Timeless. Transients is faster on the Timeless. Mid-bass impact is slightly harder on the I/O. The mids are different as well. Both IEMs push vocals forward, but the I/O has a more intimate rendition. Vocals are closer to the ears on the I/O. Both IEMs emphasize sibilance, but the I/O has a few decibels greater push. The I/O also has a bit more push in vocal grain. Separation of mid-centric elements is more obvious on the Timeless. The treble is slightly rolled off in the upper treble region on the I/O. The Timeless has a more neutral rendition. The I/O appears to place instruments closer to the ears. The Timeless has greater separation and clarity in the treble region. Neither IEM seems harsh at higher volumes. The Timeless has greater detail retrieval. In my new light test, the I/O rendered 6 clear footsteps compared to the 8 I heard on the Timeless. The Timeless has wider soundstage and greater clarity. The Andromeda has about the same amount of sub-bass rendition as the Timeless. Both are similarly rolled off. However, the Andromeda has closer to neutral mid-bass. Mid-bass impact is harder on the Andromeda. Bass clarity is more obvious on the Timeless. The separation and distinction in the bass region between these two IEMs was not significant and could be attributed to improper volume matching. The mids are also different. The Andromeda has closer to neutral presentation. It does not accentuate vocal grain or sibilance. The Timeless has a slight emphasis of female sibilance. Mid-centric elements are clearer and more separated on the Timeless. The Andromeda presents instruments and vocalists closer to the ears. The treble is fairly similar between the two. Both IEMs appear to present the same amount of treble energy. Neither accentuates or de-emphasizes the treble range. However, the Timeless has greater clarity and separation among treble instruments. The Timeless has greater detail retrieval. On my new light test, the Andromeda presented 6 clear footsteps compared to the 8 on the Timeless. The Timeless has wider soundstage. The P1 has a slightly greater sub-bass roll-off than the Timeless. The difference I think is in minor degrees, but seemed apparent in an A/B test. Transience was the same. Clarity in the bass region was a little bit more obvious on the Timeless. Separation of sub-bass from mid-bass was similar, but the Timeless appeared a little clearer in this regard. Mid-bass impact is harder on the P1. The mids are not the same. The P1 has closer to neutral rendition. It does not emphasize vocal grain or sibilance. The Timeless does have a slight emphasis of sibilance, particularly for female artists. Separation of mid-centric elements was similar between the IEMs, but the Timeless appeared to have a bit more clarity. The P1 places vocals a little closer to the ears. Treble is a little different. Both the P1 and Timeless seem to have similar rendition in the lower and mid-treble area. However, the P1 has an emphasis in the upper treble, whereas the Timeless is more neutral. Treble clarity and separation is slightly greater on the Timeless. The Timeless has slightly greater detail retrieval. The P1 rendered 7 footsteps in my new light test compared to the 8 on the Timeless. The Timeless has wider soundstage. Comparisons like these help us determine how to place new products. Sometimes we get some stellar stuff, and other times we get much of the same as before. With IEMs, you can only do so many comparisons. There are a never-ending supply of IEMs, and it is impossible to cover all of them. It is obvious from these tests that the Timeless has a unique signature, at least unique when compared to these 3 alternatives. It is clear that paying more or buying from a well-known brand does not mean you're getting better quality or better sound. Indeed, when you think of technicalities such as soundstage, detail, clarity, separation, and placement, the Timeless has no problems keeping pace with any of these alternatives, and the Timeless does seem to outperform in some aspects. The big question is whether the sound signature of the Timeless or any of the IEMs I mentioned here will be to your liking. That is up to you to decide. The 7Hz Timeless got a lot of hype. When it was released, the forums were buzzing with excitement, and then that excitement built itself into a frenzy. That's the typical flow of things among the audiophile community. I was not expecting much. I mean, IEMs are so frequently released that today's hype will be tomorrow's forgotten memory. The Timeless is an interesting idea. While planar magnetic drivers in IEMs is still fairly new, we have had some options. The P1, Death on Ray Tender, and audeze stuff come to mind. Does the Timeless offer something unique? Well, I've never heard the audeze IEMs, and I'm not in a hurry to buy them, but I have heard a few planar IEMs, and through my experience of listening to planar drivers in general, I can say without hesitation that there's no real reason for the hype. Either you enjoy planar transients or you don't. Getting a planar driver does not mean you jump up in soundstage, detail, or clarity compared to a dynamic driver. It has a lot to do with the tuning. But considering everything, the Timeless was a surprise for me. The Timeless is a bit odd looking, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I am told. This IEM is comfortable. The accessories here are very good. This is the type of stuff that the $700 Death on Ray Tender should have come with. When we turn to sound signature, the Timeless has a balanced tuning. This IEM favors vocals over other elements. The sub-bass is a little rolled off, mid-bass is closer to neutral, and treble appears to be neutral or close to it. The Timeless has above-average detail and soundstage. It has good clarity, separation, and placement. It provides depth and width. Is it value? Yes, I think so. At just over $200, the Timeless does offer enough to make an argument for its price. It is built well, it is properly accessorized, it has a sound signature different enough to warrant consideration. You may end up hating this sound signature, the looks or the fit, but you can say that for anything. What is patently clear to me is that the Timeless, as far as technicalities are concerned, is as good, if not superior in some aspects, than the Andromeda, IO, and P1. While the overall sound signature of all 4 products are different, you cannot reasonably argue that you're getting more soundstage, detail, clarity, resolution, or whatever because you spend 6 times more money for the Andromeda. Ultimately, you will need to decide if the Timeless is right for you. In my opinion, it's a good IEM that merits consideration.